We have the Home Run Derby coming up, right? We spent a lot of time on the All-Star game.
Yep.
We haven't spoken about the Derby. We've got 2 guys out of the 8 participants solidified. That's Cal Raleigh from Seattle, big dumper, leads the league in home runs with 32. Longest of 25 is 440 feet at Chicago. The hardest hit ball he had, 113.2 versus Minnesota. That's the hardest hit home run. Obviously, those go into play, especially the distance for the extra ball in the Home Run Derby. He could end up being the second player to switch hit during the Home Run Derby. After Adley Rutschman did it in 2023, he's the only other one. And then on the other side, we have Ronald Acuna Jr. from the Atlanta Braves. In front of his home crowd, this will be at Truist on July 14th. He's got 9 home runs. Doesn't sound like a lot when you compare it to Cal Raleigh, but that's 9 home runs since May 23rd when he came back from the IL. First game of the year was May 23rd, and that was also the date of his longest home run, 467 feet, and hardest hit home run, 115.5. Coincidentally, that was in his first at bat of the season that he did that. Acuna has been rolling. These are 2 guys that are really exciting to have in the Derby, but some guys that aren't. So we kind of point that out. Last year's champion, Teoscar Hernandez, said no. 2023's champion, Vlad Guerrero Jr., also out. Shohei Ohtani, Aaron Judge, and Ellie De La Cruz, somebody who a lot of people really wanted to be in. They're all declining the ability to be in the Home Run Derby. So I got a couple names, and I hope you guys have some thoughts as well on who you think might, want to join. Easiest one to bring up first, Pete Alonso. I'm kind of surprised he hasn't agreed to it yet.
Well, Pete Alonso is, if you look at it, feels so far down the major league home run total and really a power drought as of late. Has not been hitting a lot of home runs lately. I feel like is the reason why we're hearing that. I can think of 3 other names, including one that is on the Mets, that is a better option for the Home Run Derby than Pete Alonso right now from the National League. First one I want to jump at is Eugenio Suarez. The guy is absolutely raked this year for Arizona. He's a big name for that, or he's a big-time piece coming up this offseason to see what's going to happen. And I think really could be one of the first big dominoes this offseason that tells what Arizona's direction is. I would love to see him in the Derby. He has 25 home runs. That's tied for 4th with Kyle Schwarber. I think Schwarber definitely should be a name that should be in the Home Run Derby. And then why not round it out with 3 NL East teams representing the National League and throw Juan Soto in the mix with the power surge he's been on? I mean, why not? I think that would be fun.
Yeah, Soto's a huge name. He didn't make my list of the 3 NL guys. Suarez and Schwarber did. Suarez, a guy that we know when he gets hot, he could stay hot. He had the 4 home run game this year. I think it'd be really interesting to see him in a situation like that. Schwarber, Truist Park slightly favors lefty batters. It's not, it's a pretty normal basic park as it is.
Second highest altitude in the major leagues behind Colorado, by the way. So
yes, this should be a fun derby. And Schwarbombs will be rolling. The third name that I had for the NL was James Wood. James Wood has been phenomenal this year. He has been a shining star for the Washington Nationals. So, for me, that would also be 3 NL East guys, just not one from the Mets.
We're having a lot of the same names. The only one that pretty much different, I have James Woods, Eugenio Suarez, but I have O'Neal Cruz.
The man doesn't want his own Philadelphia Philly in the Derby.
I just feel like we have all these, like, MLB has all these, like, new faces, all these young guys coming up who are hidden, and it's just like you feel like you got to capitalize on it.
I mean, O'Neal Cruz only had 15 homers. I wonder if that's too low to get him in.
Yeah, but he hits the ball hard. Like, I think he had like Corey? Didn't he have like the hardest?
He had a couple of absolute
like really.
Yesterday against the Mets.
And he's got a cannon of an arm. Like, he's just a freak athlete. I just wonder. how far down the list they go on the invites.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're gonna put Acuna in with 9 home runs,
yeah,
like,
but
Acuna,
hold on.
I get the
Acuna's at
special
home,
thing, but
the
I
end of
mean,
May.
and Acuna's at home.
Yeah,
It's
well,
not in
that's the
Pittsburgh.
reason why you make the exception for being hurt. But like, if you look at home runs per at bat, Acuna's got to be close to the top.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely. I had, obviously Acuna's there on my list. I had Suarez as a possibility. I put James Wood. I also had O'Neal Cruz, in addition to the Pete Alonso I brought up, just to have some names out there. And then on the American League side, 2 names that I really think would be fun. Obviously, Kansas City's Jack Caglianone. He's built for the home run derby, just like Pete Alonso is. The way his swing would be, I think that would be really fun. And how about Jazz Chisholm Jr. with this power surge? He's got the most home runs in his career in a single month right now. He's got the highest home run total for a month in his career. He's hitting home runs at a crazy pace, especially since coming back from the IL. He seems like there seems to be somebody like him in every home run derby, a guy you don't really think of as a prolific power hitter that will end up doing this, especially with that sweet lefty swing. I can definitely see Jazz doing this.
Yeah, and I think Jazz is a good shout because what Ben just talked about in terms of why Acuna's in for home runs per at bat, you look at the guys at the top of the AL list, and Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge and Taylor Ward, they all have 300 plus at bats, but Jazz Chisholm at 190 has 13 home runs. So if you gave him an additional 120 at bats, I don't think he's at Aaron Judge, Cal Raleigh, but in third place in the AL for home run leader is Taylor Ward with 20. Jazz,
I think you can
be
give
at that
him
number.
5 home runs at minimum in 120 at bats. I don't think that's unfair to say.
Yeah, so I think he's
Especially
a fine
Yankee
shout to
Stadium.
be in the conversation for sure. I also think Spencer Torkelson is an interesting name to bring up. He's had stretches this year where it feels like he homers 3-4 days in a row. Then he goes a little cold. But again, similar to what John talked about, one of the younger stars in the game. He's on a team that, it switches all the time, but they have one of the best, if not the best record in all of baseball. Could be good to get some Detroit Tiger representation in there. You could do Riley Green instead if you'd rather, but Torkelson, kind of the younger, bigger name on the team in my estimation. And even a Byron Buxton could be fun.
Yeah, see, it's funny, Dylan, you bring up Torkelson and Riley Green. The name I'm all over is Kerry Carpenter, because if you want to talk about just pure raw power, he's the guy in Detroit. He is about as streaky as they come, but Kerry Carpenter to me would be a very fun name to watch. And hey, we still have a couple weeks, 2 weeks until the Derby. If he goes on a run this week and hits 4 home runs, all of a sudden he's right there among the league leaders in the American League. I mean, he's nowhere near Cal Raleigh and Aaron Judge, but third place is 10 behind Judge at 20. So, he's right there. I do agree. And Byron Buxton or Taylor Ward, I think, maybe getting the Angels some representation there with Warden. But again, I'm thinking in terms of raw power, Brandon Lau would be a fun one to watch as well. Just see if he could put on a Dan Uggla-esque performance in Atlanta.
Yeah, I could see that. I also think in terms of just raw power, Brent Rooker on the A's is somebody
that's
to
what I
look
was
at.
just gonna say. I was gonna say Brent Rooker, and then I was gonna bring up Junior Caminario.
Yeah.
He's sitting there with 20 home runs too.
That's another. Those are some really good ones.
This exercise made me realize how much better the NL is suited for the home run derby this year than the AL, especially with Judge not doing it.
This just means that the AL is still going to win it. Whenever you see one side grossly more competent than the other, just like how the All-Star game has looked the last few years, how the NL always seems to have the better roster, the AL is just going to win. They got grit. They got that dog in them.
Then whoever the NL team wins the World Series, then
Is that really? What's
I'm
been
pretty
going on?
sure that's I think.
I mean, the
Not all the
AL
time,
has
but
won
I
the
mean-
All-Star game, I think, like 15 of the last 17 years or something like that.
Yeah, they dominated it.
Yeah, the Astros definitely got the Astros and Red Sox. Their World Series alone means that that's not like 100%, but
No, I just also remember though growing up, It was always the American League winning. Then the National League had like a 3 or 4 year stretch, and it's been all American League since.
Yeah,
Do you
that's
guys like the All-Star game not meaning anything, like for home field
Absolutely
advantage
not.
or not?
It should mean something.
yeah. So I go back and forth on it because if you have to have representation from every team, then I get why it doesn't need to mean anything. But
Yeah,
back
I agree
when,
with Dylan there, especially when you
yeah,
have the best guys sitting out. You know,
because those guys
you have
usually on the
guys
best
who have
teams.
no business being named All-Stars at some points, being on this team. I agree, it should not be meaning anything, but also don't be upset when no one tunes in because of that.
Yeah,
So-
back when we were younger, and you would see, what was it? I believe like the 06 All-Star game was just like half of it was the Chicago White Sox, like who had just won the World Series. But the point being that that was full of guys who were on teams competing for World Series.
Yeah.
So they were
Also,
willing
with the
to
fan
bust.
vote. The fan vote doesn't help either.
Oh, the fan
Yeah.
vote is
The
pretty.
fan vote just makes it Dodgers versus AL.
So the All-Star game since the year 2000, I feel like, 24 plus this year is a pretty good sample size, right?
Fair.
True,
The
that's
American League is 19-4 versus the NL since 2000.
AL represent.
All right, look up, like, if we look up that stretch, I'm pretty sure the NL won 3 or 4 in a row.
All right, so the NL did win 3 in a row, 2010, 2011, and 2012. And then they also won in 2023.
Wow.
Every other year.
So there was like a 10-year stretch where they just didn't win once.
There was multiple 10-year stretches, it seems.
And then in 2002, it was a tie, it looks like.
A tie?
It says N77. So I don't know what the deal with that is.
We're all just quickly, what the hell happened?
How many? But how many times has an NL team won the World Series in that span? Just out of curiosity.
Not that many.
I
It's like
It
from like
ended in a
2000 to
7-7 tie
2024.
after 11 innings.
they just stopped playing.
Both teams ran out of available pitchers.
That is insane.
They ran out of pitchers. Joe Torre and Bob Brenly were the managers.
Yep. Yeah, I'm looking at it all now. See, but this is what I was talking about. The Yankees with, what is that, 3 All-Stars? The Red Sox with 3 All-Stars? So teams that were competing for World Series at that time, it's all them.
Out of the starting 9, 8 of
Yeah.
them ended up playing for the Yankees or Red Sox at any point in their career.
Yeah, but that season, 2/3 of the lineup was on either the Yankees or Red Sox, and the guys that weren't, A-Rod, Torrey Hunter, Ichiro Suzuki. Like,
Plus, if you look at the bench, you have Robin Ventura and Derek Jeter with the Yankees and Nomar Garcia-Parra with the Red Sox and Johnny Damon with the Sox on the bench. Just since we're here, the Philly and Met All-Stars, nobody on the bench. Let's see. The Phillies had Vicente Padilla. You guys might
Piazza
remember
for the
him
Mets.
as the guy who would always fight Mark Teixeira whenever they played.
Mm-hmm.
No Mets pitchers.
Was it Piazza?
The only Met All-Star was Mike Piazza.
Yeah.
The Phillies had Scott Rowland and Jimmy Rollins also as an All-Star.
what a time.
What a time indeed.
Thank you for the trip down memory lane to the 2002 All-Star game that ended in a tie.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where the American League is dominated for so long, and each year in and year out, last year's result has no bearing whatsoever on this year. They're not connected. The players could be the same, could be different, but they don't mean anything. And they've just dominated for so long.
So I looked up.
It's
the
like when you
World
flip a
Series
coin.
stuff.
It could be heads or it could be tails. Even if you get 50 heads in a row, that has no bearing on if the next one will be heads or tails. Each is independent of the other.
I do
But-
have the stats on the World Series stuff though.
Let's hear it.
National League has won 13 and the American won 12 since 2000.
So it's
Looks
pretty.
like it's
50-50.
AL time. Looks like it's AL time, baby.
Yankees get their revenge on the Dodgers. I like the sound of that.
It's our time.